Hello students, here is Divya Singh, Assistant Professor, School of Computer Applications, PPT University. So now we see the topics that are security protocols for web commerce. The leading protocols for securing the online transaction processes are Secure Socket Layer SSL, Secure Electronic Transaction, that is SET. Next, that is SHTTP and shell. Now see our first topic, that is secure socket layer. The SSL secure socket layer is a protocol designed and implemented by Netscape Communication. Netscape claims it is designed to work as the name implies at the socket layer to protect any higher level protocol built on sockets such as Telnet, FTP, or HTTP. It is ignorant of the details of higher level protocols and what is being transported. The SSL provides for the encryption of the session authentication of a server and optimally a client and message authentications. This means that once a secure session is established, all communications over the internet is encrypted. The SSL handshake protocol and the application protocols both operate on the top of SSL record protocol, a simple means of encapsulating authentication information. SSL record layer works on TCP or on other reliable transport mechanism. Session establishment takes from 5 to 8 messages depending on the option based. Now see in the diagram, that is, here is a client and here is a web server, and this is the operation of secure socket layer protocol. First, client sent the connect request, then web server send the server sends from to sender sends from to client. Then client browser user fills in the form and submit it. Then web browser server sends form data with SSL. SSL relies on existence of a key certification mechanism for the authentication of a server. Securing is established by means of a handshake protocol in which a set of session keys is set up between the client and server. This can be done either by using a dedicated key establishment algorithm such as Dif- Different-Hellman, or by the encrypting a master key under the server's RSA encryption key. Four session layer keys, four session keys are set up, two encryption keys and two authentication keys to provide directional security. The key are used for transmitting data from the server and those used for transmitting from the client different from each other. Messages are protected using symmetric encryption and by generating a message authentication code, that is MAC, on the data. This means that on the link from a client to server or vice versa, Messages are protected for confidentiality and data integrity. However, there is no non repudiation on the message since data integrity is provided using symmetric cryptography rather than through the use of digital signatures. A SSL session is equivalent of using a scrambler on the telephone line. To the catalog merchant, when the data arrives at the merchant website, all the information is depicted and storing it in a secure format. Is the responsibility of the merchant, and the user has no control over the security of their information. Purchaser assume the risk that the merchant will guard and credit card information securely, has no assurance that the merchant is authorized to accept credit card payments. In an online transaction, the merchant also suffers a security risk, as with any mail order or telephone order transaction today, because he has no proof that the user is the true owner of the credit card. This is the risk that the merchant and the credit card vendor assume and the factor into their business cost. This risk increases with the purchase of soft goods and intellectual property, that is, software, games, and etc., where the purchase is actually delivered online besides being ordered online. Additionally, since SSL encryption encrypt everything, the display of complex pages can be slow, and therefore SSL protect site often use minimal graphic to minimize the performance impact. This can detract from their consumer appeals. Now, the shortcomings of SSL. The following are the shortcomings, that is, SSL being a slow level protocol does a little protect and the host, once it is a compromised, also once a key in a certificate is compromised, it can remain compromised as there is no mechanism in place of consulting the root of the CA to confirm that the key being used has not been revoked. The key, however, not included expiration dates. Confirming to the root of to the CA is not a commonplace, but the mechanism should be available to do so the higher value transactions. SSL uses public key encryption to exchange a session key between the client and the server. This session keys is used to encrypt the HTTP transactions, both request and response. Netscape server and the browser encrypts using either a 40-bit secret key or a 128-bit secret key using a 40-bit secret key or 128-bit secret key. Using a 40-bit key is insecure because it is vulnerable to a brute force attack, that is, trying each of the 240 possible keys until the ones that decrypts the message is found. This was, in fact, demonstrated in 1995 when a French researcher used a network of workstation to crack a 40-bit encrypted message in a little over a week with the specialized hardware that is 40-bit message can be cracked within a minute. Now second is secure electronic transaction. The secure electronic transaction that is SET protocol is a set of written standard that describes how credit card association banks, merchants and consumers should implement credit cards transaction across association banks merchant and consumer should implement credit cards transaction across the internet's world wide web. It was established by the Mastercards and Visa for the secure use of credit, debit, and corporate purchasing. Card over the internet, the co-developers and the supporters, and Microsoft, Cybercash, Gate, IBM, and Netscape other supporters include RSA, Data Secure, Teresa Systems, and VeriSign. Data Secure and VeriSign set represents an evaluation, merging and replacement of SHTTP and SSL. The set is intended to reduce frauds by unscrupulous merchants and consumers, thus reducing the financial risk of internet based commerce to both merchant bank and honest merchants. The set architecture involves a number of players. These includes entities known as cardholder merchants, acquirer issuer, and payment gateways, as well as the number of certifications authorities. The payment gateway is a device operated by the acquirer or a designated third party that processes merchant payment messages, including merchant instructions from the cardholders. The intentions is to take the payment processing always from the merchant as so as to reduce the risk of merchant frauds. The protocol is specific to bank card payments. The only information that is encrypted using bank's keys from the cardholder is the payment information, which is sent via the merchant to the payment gateway in such a manner that the merchant cannot obtain the plain text, account details, the order information, and the payment instructions, or both signed using the cardholder secrets, signature, keys, and the response from the merchant is also signed. However, the order information to the merchant is encrypted using the merchant's public key. Therefore, the cardholders is protected only up to a point from the merchant fraud. He can be confident that the merchant will not be misusing any card details obtained through a set transaction. A cardholder making use of set can be confident that the merchant is legitimate. However, the validity of this depends greatly upon the choices made by the acquirer on how to authenticate merchants before issuing them. Use set certificates. Similarly, it is up to the card issuer to determine how best to authenticate a person making the initial request for the cardholder certificate. The protocol itself does not define how these choices are to be made. Therefore, it is convenient that the cardholder certificate could be generated for the use of fraud, and likewise a merchant certificate. This is potentially a huge problem given the fact that SET does not support certification revocations. Therefore, once a certificate is issued, it could be used fraudulently for many years, that is, for long as the validity period of the certificate or until the card either expires or is cancelled. If implemented properly with strong procedures and this validation stages, SET provides the following services. The services are the strong security in protecting the cardholder's account details from both eavesdroppers and fraudulent merchants, non-repudiations for both the merchants and the cardholders on the transaction and the agreement, and assured assurance to the merchant that the payment will be honored. Assume that a customer has a set enabled browser such as Netscape or Microsoft's Internet Explorer, and that the transaction provider's bank, store, etc. has a set enabled server. The following are the steps involved in the transactions. They are: first is the customer opens the MasterCard or Visa bank account. Any issuer of a credit card is some kind of bank. The and the second is the customer receives a digital certificate and the private signing key. This electronic certificate is used for signing the credit card for online purchases or other transactions. The certificate includes a public key with an expiration date and has been digitally signed by the bank to ensure its validity. And the third is the third party merchant also receives certificates from the bank. These certificates include the merchant public key and the bank's public key. And the fourth is the customer places an order on a web page, and the fifth is the customer's browser receiving the merchant certificate and confirms from the merchant certificate that the merchant is valid. Now, the sixth is the browser sends the order information. The order information has ordering details and payment information. These ordering details and encrypted with the merchant's public key, and the payment information is encrypted with bank public key, which can't be read by the merchant. These two components are put together and further encrypted by the buyer signing key. This process ensures that this payment can be used with comment with cement order only. And the seventh is the merchant verifies the customer by checking the digital signatures on the customer's certificate. This may be done by referring the certificate to the bank or to the third party verifier. And the eighth is the merchant sends the order message to the bank. This includes the bank's public key, the customer's placement information, which the merchant can be decoded, and the merchant certificate. And the ninth is the bank verifies the merchant and the message. The bank uses the the digital signature or the certificate with the message and verifies the payment part of the message. The bank digitally signs the and sends the authorization to the merchant who can't then fill the order. Now see the comparison table of SSL and SET, in which the features are location of security in SSL browser or server, and in SET, that is cardholder, clients, merchant, and payment gateways. Next feature is confidentiality, that is yeah, in SSL, that is yes, and in set only on payment instructions. Next feature is data integrity. In data integrity, SSL is yes, and in set this is also yes. Data origin authentication, that is SSL, possible if client authentication is employed, and set is yes. And in this sorry in next comparison feature is entity authentication, that is option from both server and client, and in set is all entities. Next, that is digital signature. In digital signature, there is no digital signature in SSL, and set there is digital signature. And in non-repudiations, in SSL there is no non-repudiations, but set has non-repudiations. And in SSL, the end-to-end integrity security is not at the message level, but in set the end-to-end security is at message level. Next, there is no restrictions in SSL, but in set there is a restrictions of credit card transactions only. Now see what is SHTTP. SHTTP is secure HTTP is a scheme proposed by the CommerceNet, a coalition of business interested in developing the internet for commercial uses. Current HTTP implementations only provide modest support for the security mechanism necessary for the commerce. HTTP provides a wide variety of mechanisms to provide a wide variety of mechanisms to provide for confidentiality, authentication, and integrity to HTTP clients and servers. Separation of policy from mechanism was an expliting explicit goal in the design of the protocol. The system is not tied to any particular cryptographic system's key infrastructure or cryptographic format. Now, secure HTTP is a secure message originated communication protocol designed for the use of conjunction with HTTP. Is a superset of HTTP which allows message to be encapsulated in the various ways. Encapsulation can be include encryption, signing, or a message authentication code, that is MAC based authentication. This encapsulation can be recursive, and the message can have a several security transformation applied to it. As HTTP also includes header definition to provide key transfer, certificate transfer, and similar administrative functions. As HTTP appears to be extremely flexible in what it will allow the programmers to do, as HTTP also offers the potential for substantial user in involvement in. and oversight of authentication and encryption activities. The protocol provides symmetric capabilities to both the clients and the server, such that equal treatment is given to both request and replies as well as the preferences of both parties while preserving the transaction model and implementation characteristics of HTTP. Several cryptographic message format standards may be incorporated into SHTTP clients and server. The SHTTP supports interoperation among a variety of implementation and compatible with SHTTP and HTTP aware. Clients can communicate with SHTTP, obviously, obvious servers and vice versa. Although such transaction obviously would not use in SHTTP security features. SHTTP does not require client-side public key certificates or public key as it supports symmetric key only operations mode. This is significant because it means that spontaneous private transactions can occur without requiring individual users to have an established public key. While SHTTP is able to take advantages of obvious certification infrastructures, its development does not require it. SHTTP supports end-to-end secure transaction in contrast with the original HTTP authorization mechanism, which requires the client to attempt access to denied before the security mechanism is employed. Client may be primed and initiated to secure transaction that is typically using information supplied in message headers. This may be used to support encryption of fill out forms. For example, with SHTTP, no sensitive data needs ever to send over the network in the clear. SHTTP provides full flexibility of cryptographic algorithms, modes and parameters. Option negotiations is used to allow client and servers to agree on transaction modes. For example, should the request be signed or encrypted or both, and similarly for the reply, the cryptographic algorithm that is RSA versus DSA for signing, etc., and certificate selection. Now, see what is Shen. Shen is a scheme proposed by Philip Helen Baker of CERN. Like SHTTP, it is a high level replacement for the existing HTTP protocol. Now, see, Shen provides for three separate security related mechanisms, that is, weak authentications, strong authentications via public key exchange, and third is strong encryptions of message contents. Now see what is first, that is weak authentications. Weak authentications will low maintenance overheads and without patent or export restrictions. A user identity must be established as genuine. Unauthorized access must be importable, but security from all the possible forms of attacks event need not to be provided. Second, that is strong authentications via public key exchange. That is strong. A user identity must be established as genuine. Unauthorized access must be impossible expert by random changes. or by access to unknown technology. And the last, third is a strong encryption of message contents. That is, the data must not be transmitted in the form of comprehensive to the third party, with an identified party acting as a guarantor in this respect. Although Shen has existed as a proposal for nearly 2 years, no browser or server vendors has implemented it. Now, thank you for listening.